Corruption in Ukraine is present at every level of society. Many ordinary citizens believe that giving bribes is the only effective way to get things done. But what can be done to change this mentality? Joining us is Oleksandr Kalitenko from Transparency International Ukraine. So thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. Hello.
So the whole point of this campaign that Transparency International is organizing is to change people's mentalities about taking bribes, receiving bribes. Now, how difficult is it going to be to do that?
Psychologists said it takes 15 years to change mentality because people, according to the latest data made by Democratic Initiatives Fund, many people are thinking that corruption is a bad thing, but in the same time, many people justifies corruption. And the goal of our campaign is to ask people why do they give bribes and what do they feel about that. Because again, according to the data, many people could think that bribes is like oil, just to speed up the process and so on and so forth. And actually, there are another problem. It could seem that corruption is widespread, that it's became bigger and more huge power of corruption. But in the same time, there are no positive stories about that. I'm not giving bribes. So we decided to gather these positive stories.
To show that there are ways of breaking this cycle of giving bribes and taking bribes, and at the same time, a lot of people in Ukraine are constantly saying that there's so much corruption at every level of the Ukrainian society. So where do you start?
Actually, I like the trend, the latest trend, because 3 years ago, 5 years ago, only 17–20% of people thought that it's my responsibility to fight corruption and it depends on me. Now, 40% already think so. And for example, the president, only 37, something like that. So people start to think that I'm the responsible person. I should fight corruption. I should start with myself. I should not give bribes and I should not take bribes. And I have a choice. I have a choice to play with my rules or somebody else's rules. So I have a choice.
So one of the things that you guys are doing are exploring the reasons behind ordinary people, students, people going to the doctors, visitors to different government branches of government. Why they're giving a certain bribe. Now, why is it important to go into the reasons behind it, as you're showcasing?
Because it should seem that there is the other way to solve this problem. For example, you should know your rights, for example, and you should fight for your rights and receive this service, obtain the service from the state without bribes, without corruption. It is possible, and there is the other way. And we could show that there are not only one person who may think like that. There are many persons, but they are silent about that. And actually, it's quite interesting because according to the latest statement by the representative of IMF, corruption is the 2% of our EDP. So 2% is a huge number.
It's part of the shadow economy. That's what's being said.
Exactly. And we had 2% on the economic growth last year. So corruption actually eats this economic growth. Exactly. So this is the problem. This is the real problem.
So how do you plan to stimulate officials? Basically, this is what civil society and organizations like Transparency International are saying, that citizens, ordinary Ukrainians apart, it's also different branches of government. It's bureaucracy that is making people think that if they pay a certain amount of money, things will get done quicker.
To reduce bureaucracy, this is the one step. The second step is to create the special anti-corruption court to actually, because there are lots of impunity for the corrupt officials right now. Unfortunately, with our courts, the trust to our courts is like 1%. It's incredible. It's a huge number, ironically. So actually, of course, small corruption and grand corruption are connected, of course. But the people should think about their role of involving in that process.
So you want to start off with Ukrainian society, change the mentality, and slowly slowly try to change the bureaucracy and the system itself. But you've just mentioned the anti-corruption court and how important it is for the Ukrainian government to establish one. Why is this such a crucial step for Ukraine to take in order to create this anti-corruption court?
Because, for example, National Anti-Corruption Bureau investigate some corruption cases. Of course, it's a hard investigation. It's not like stolen the wallet, for example, in the public transport. It's the huge schemes, offshores, and so on and so forth. And then, when it came to the court, judges could use many, tricks to stop the case, for example.
Corrupt judges.
Yeah, possibly corrupt. To stop the case or to have acquittals to some, for example, officials, whatever. And actually, anti-corruption court could change it.
So you think that with an anti-corruption court, Ukraine will be able to prosecute high-level corrupt officials?
At least they have a chance to prosecute these high-level corrupt officials. Of course, there should be a fair trial about that. Sure, it should be, but we will have a chance.
I see. Well, thank you so much for joining me today for this chat.
Thank you so much.
So we've been joined in the studio by Oleksandr Kalitenko from Transparency International Ukraine. You're watching UATV.